We are live. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today. Pat Flynn here from smartpassiveincome.com. And I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate Thanksgiving. If you don't, I just hope you had a great weekend. As you can see, I'm kind of getting ready for the festive holiday season with my red shirt. This is a DeLorean, of course, as you know, and the green colors. And it's holiday time here in San Diego. And I'm really hoping that you're going to enjoy your holiday season too. We're going to wait for a few more people to come in. But before that, I just want to say again, thank you for coming in. I don't want to waste your time. So we're going to get right into a lot of what all this is about, not just podcasting, but this podcast player that I have ready for you and some new features that have come out that I cannot wait to share with you. I'm going to share my screen in a little bit and also a special Cyber Monday deal. So whether you're watching this now or on the replay later on, I just want to again thank you for your time and we'll get right into it. This will last about 30 to 45 minutes. I'll be here to answer questions at the end too. And then we can enjoy the rest of our day and get involved with a lot of the other Cyber Monday deals that are out there too. So just let me head into the chat area just to see how everybody's doing and just make sure that everybody's cool and everybody's got their stuff going on. Uh, all right, looks like we are live indeed. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. So I'm going to tell you a quick little brief backstory about the Smart Podcast Player, why it exists, where it's coming from, and what it can do for you. In addition to that, I'm going to reveal some of the new features that I'm really excited about. I'm actually going to be implementing one live on my site right now, and it's going to be up after I do that. So this is a really cool moment because it's going to be the first time I share this, and also it's going to be live on SPI after that, and it could be live on your site too. And I also want to share with you a special Cyber Monday deal. So stay on, make sure you pay attention because at the end, I'm going to give you a coupon code to get it at a special price. So let's get started and let's just talk about the Smart Podcast Player in general and what this means. Well, a lot of people, the first time they hear our podcast, it's not on iTunes, it's not on Stitcher, it's on our websites. And you think about this, this makes complete sense. People discover our podcast through going through the navigation on our websites, through just potentially Google searches or even links that other people share. They come to our website first, typically before iTunes. And I found this out through a mistake that actually happened in a redesign of Smart Passive Income, where I was trying to consolidate everything and make everything easier for people to look at and go through on the website. And in doing that, I had actually put the podcast section inside the resource page. And when I did that, I made it one step harder to get access to those podcasts. And when that happened, I actually saw a 50% drop of the podcast downloads that I had, which really surprised me because, we always hear about let's get people onto iTunes, let's get people to subscribe and download there. Well, a lot of the people, especially those who listen to you for the very first time, are listening directly on your website. And when you think about all the other types of podcast players that are out there, what is that listening experience like? That's the first time people are listening to you. And unfortunately, a lot of these other players are simply a play button, a stop button, and a pause button, maybe a volume control, but that's it. There's nothing beyond that. And that's a perfect opportunity. The first time people listen to you on your website to actually make things happen, to actually grab them as a subscriber and actually have a call to action to have them do that, to actually have them look through other episodes that you have on that player that you have. And that didn't exist until my team and I created the Smart Podcast Player. Now, I actually created this to help with sharing the episodes that I came out with on Ask Pat, my other podcast, because that was a podcast that came out 5 days a week. And I didn't want to have to publish a different blog post for every single episode. So using SoundCloud, you can use any podcast host with it, but using any host, and we use SoundCloud for Ask Pat, we were able to create this amazing solution that was actually built just for me. It was built by my team, custom for me. And when other people saw it, they kept on asking over and over and over again where they could get it. And at first, I wasn't being smart. I kept saying, sorry, I can't give this to you because it's my own. And then once I think the 100th person asked, it was enough validation for me to realize that this was something that we could distribute. And so far, over 1,000 people, thousands of people have ended up using it and have loved it. It has helped them not only make their podcast look better and make that experience for their listener better on their website, but it has allowed them to get more subscribers and more downloads too. So if this is the first time you're hearing about the Smart Podcast Player, I'm going to do a little screen share and demonstrate kind of what it looks like, how it works, and some of the features that have been added. And then I'm going to get right into really what it can do for you and some of the new features. I'm going to implement one of those features for you real quick. So let's get into a screen share here. I'm on a Google Hangout, so it's going to take a sec. And share the entire screen. And whoop, there's infinity for you. And it looks like it's working. So let's get to not that one. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. All right, so there's you guys. Now let's go into here we go, the Smart Podcast Player. So if you go to smartpodcastplayer.com, oh, I was like, why isn't my camera on? Because usually the light on my camera is on during a webinar, but I forgot that I'm screen sharing. But here we go. This is the Smart Podcast Player. You can actually find it on smartpodcastplayer.com or on askpat.com. And like I said, thousands of other websites out there. I'll give you some other examples too of how people are using this. And a lot of people have actually been very creative with the ways that they have been using this. And I'll show you that in a second. But this is the general player here. It has a lot of the basic features that you would expect in a podcast player, such as a play button and being able to track within a particular episode too. And of course, as you look at this, you can see just how amazing this looks. My designer Dustin did an amazing job. But beyond that, you get to see a list of the other episodes that have come out, and you can scroll through those here. Then you get a subscribe button, a download button, very clear title treatment, and I can even look at some of the other titles as I'm going through as another episode is playing. And of course, you see the show notes here for these episodes too, which is really nice with clickable links within them too. Plus, there's social sharing involved, and if you use SoundCloud as your platform, you can actually utilize their keywords for each particular episode. So, for example, I can click on YouTube here, and it'll show me all the other videos that I have, or excuse me, other podcasts that I have that are related to YouTube videos. I can look at, actually take that one off. I can do video in general, or let's see, business strategy. Here's all the business strategy stuff that I have on Ask Pat. Now, this is what's called the full track player. And this, again, shows you in a nice, fancy way in one consolidated area all the episodes that you've ever come out with. It allows people to explore your other episodes, and actually I've gotten confirmation from several users of this who have said that this feature alone, the full podcast player, being able to look at other podcast episodes and actually scroll through them and play more episodes, this actually auto plays the next episode for the person listening. If they end up getting through one episode, it auto plays the next one. You get more downloads, you get more subscribers, and you get more engagement with your audience too, as opposed to just a play button. Now here you can see the logo for the podcast too. That can also be changed and updated as well. And then down here, you'll notice in this yellow bar, this is what's called the single track player. This is when you come out with a single blog post, for example, that has a podcast episode embedded in it. And this is what you would use as your single track player. Now, this has a lot of the same features as well. This is this big yellow bar is actually the timeline for that particular episode. As you can see there, it's scrolling through. And it has some other features too that are similar to as in the full featured podcast player, but in a much more consolidated area for this single track player. So if you scroll here and hover over the share icon, you could see that you can share on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. You can actually set what those are in the back end, and I'll show you what the back end looks like in a little bit. There's this download button here too. And then this is my favorite feature that was actually a big request from a number of the beta users. And this was the speed control. So if I click on this button, a user can listen at 1.5 times speed, or at 2 times speed, or at 3 times speed. I know personally, I listen to all my podcasts at 2 times speed to get through them much faster. And it allows me to get through more content. And so if you allow your audience to do that, they're going to get through a lot of the content much faster too. Now, this is also available on the full track player, and that's some of the coolest stuff that I've ever seen in a web-based podcast player. Now, don't get me wrong. You still want to drive people to subscribe to iTunes or Stitcher or the directory of choice. You still want that to happen. But I've realized ever since that design mistake I talked about earlier that a lot of people are listening on your website. And if you don't give them that great first experience, you're going to lose out on potential subscribers. You're going to lose out on the potential for people who, when they listen on your website, to continue listening to more. It's a lot to ask to get people to subscribe to iTunes and leave ratings and reviews and all that stuff. And so this is how the plugin looks like, and this is how it works. I'm going to show you what the back end of the plugin looks like actually. And this is very easy. This is one of my favorite parts of it, is actually the stuff that you don't get to see and how easy it is to use and implement. So after you install it, it's a WordPress plugin, so you don't have to worry about it being too difficult to install. You get to enter your license key, which you get once you download the podcast player. Now, if you have SoundCloud, you also have to enter your API key. We give you all the pages and knowledge base items that you need in order to be able to find out how to do that. Mindy, who is the executive producer on this job, she does an amazing job of making sure the customer service is top notch, and actually all of the videos that are going to help you walk through the process of setting this up are up to date too. So Mindy, thank you so much. I know she's watching this right now. And also the customer service for Smart Podcast Player is top notch. We've actually gotten a lot of emails from people just simply saying thank you for being quick to respond and all that sort of stuff. So if you ever have any problems, support@smartpodcastplayer.com is the place to go. But here are the player default in this particular tab. And this is where you enter things like your RSS feed, the default colors, the link colors, the theme style. You can choose between a light and dark color. And also you can change the image track URL. That's what you see here on the upper left-hand corner. And this is for both the full track player and the single track player. Now, I'm going to show you a demo of how this all works in just a second, but there's some other features that you can do, like sort. You can have a download button or not, and you can choose to remove the Smart Podcast Player brand from your player. Now, there's advanced features too, which are honestly you don't even need to know, but the default is the stuff that you need to look out for. Sorry. Now, here's a blank page that I'm going to set up really quickly, just show you how easy this is. So once you set up this plugin, you're going to see two icons here. This is the Smart Podcast Player. That's the full track player. And this is the Smart Track Player. So let me show you what this looks like. If you click on Insert Smart Podcast Player Shortcode, it brings up this really nice shortcode creator. This was actually something that was just recently released. This is one of the new features that was added. This brand new shortcode creator, which makes it much easier for anybody, even the complete beginner, to understand how this works. So you enter, all the default information is there. The podcast feed is there. And if I were to just simply click build shortcode, it adds this code into the post or the page. And if I click preview, you're going to see this thing pop up and it'll load the player the way it should look. So here's that player right there. See how quick and easy that was to set up? Now I'm going to do another one right below it. This is the cool thing. You can actually put multiple players, both full track and single track players, on a single page or post. So I'm going to insert another one, but I'm going to say no social sharing buttons. I'm going to put the light style, and let's just build that one out and see what that one looks like. So I'm going to hit preview, and this should add a second one right below it. As you can see there, it loads incredibly fast. And there you go. So this is the light version as well. And of course, you can change and update the colors as you wish. Now, I'm going to actually create a single track player and just show you what the default of that one looks like. So I'm going to click single track player shortcode. And actually, the default is to play a specific episode of your podcast. So actually, let me go into one of my episodes. This is with Lewis Howes in episode 187. You could see the Smart Track player being used right there. I'm actually going to grab the URL to that. And I'm going to go back into my editor here. And I'm going to click the Smart Track player shortcode. Choose to display a specific episode. So I'm going to paste that, and that is to the MP3 file. I'm also going to put my name here, Pat Flynn and Lewis, title episode 187. I'm going to hit build shortcode. I'm going to hit preview. And in the third instance of a Smart Podcast Player, you'll see down here, you'll see that single track player and everything I just put. So this is episode 187, Pat Flynn and Lewis, and this plays that episode that I chose to play. Now, the cool thing about this, let me go back to the blog post where I have this inserted. This is the episode that this represents. You can play that here. It has all the same features that I talked about earlier. But look down here. This is something that my team actually added implementing, and I've seen a lot of downloads and increased downloads as a result of this. Down here, I put related podcasts. So you can actually include other podcast episodes that are related to the one that you just put up to get more people to download things that are related to it, because Lewis has also been featured in episode 29 and episode 56. And so we put those related podcasts down here by simply adding a new track player in the same way that I just did, but instead selecting the URL that is of that other podcast. And so it makes it really easy to add multiple podcasts. And there's actually an example that is really great by John Lee Dumas. If you go to this page, this is his top 10 podcast episodes or interviews on Entrepreneur on Fire. He shares all these different interviews. There's this is not an interview. This is the 1,000th episode. John is a madman. It's so cool that he's got to 1,000. But here's Michael Port, Sally Hogshead. Again, all of these different interviews on one specific page, and he's changed the colors of them to make them look kind of cool and stand out. But again, you can easily play and go through each of these here and add those to your page. Now, John has also set up the Smart Track Player to include an image of the people that he's interviewing, which you can do, and that's very easy to do here. You can include the image URL here for that particular person. So that's how you would do that. And John has made it, he's had his designer make it really nice to be able to put the description underneath in this way with the Smart Track Player. But he also has the smart full player in other places on the website too. There's other people who are using this. This is Brendan Hufford, who's in the SPI community. He's using this for his Entrepreneurs in Coffee podcast. As you can see, he's using the light version here, and you can go through his website there. This is Amy Porterfield, who's using the single track player on each of her podcasts. She's using it. She's actually doing a really good job because in addition to being able to listen to a podcast, you can actually download a particular lead magnet related to that podcast. She actually creates a different one for each particular episode, which is a great tip. And that's how she's been able to increase the size of her email list quite dramatically over the recent period of time that she's been implementing that. So yeah, that's that, and that's how other people have been using it. And as you can see, some big names are on it: Amy Porterfield, John Lee Dumas, the guys over at Internet Business Mastery, and again, like I said, thousands of other people too. Now, I want to share this latest feature with you, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to go back to our editor here. Actually, I'm going to delete all these other podcast players that we've put up. I'm going to put a single track player, but now I'm going to choose from this drop-down menu and select play the most recent episode in my feed. So by doing this, click preview, it's going to show me hopefully episode 189 because that's the last one. And there it is, episode 189. This shows the latest episode. And when a new one comes up, this will automatically change. And this is a game changer for Smart Podcasts player users because this allows us to do a number of cool things. You can actually have at the bottom of each of your posts, for example, click here to listen to the latest episode of the podcast. And this will automatically change no matter what. Or you can do what I'm about to show you now, which is actually turn this into a widget. So it'll be on every single page on your website, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to leave it up because I want to show you that this is actually something that is going to work. I've actually tested this yesterday, and it's actually pretty awesome. So this is a quick and easy way to add a player to your sidebar through a widget on your website. So I'm actually going to I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to start over just so I can add some short code to it. So play the most recent episode in the feed. I'm going to title the artist. This is kind of a little trick I should. Actually, let me just show you what happens if I just do this. So I'm going to copy this shortcode here from this page or post. I'm actually going to open Appearance, go to Widgets, and open that in a new window here for you. So I'm going to go down to Sidebar Widgets. I'm going to insert a text widget right here, right above where the popular posts ones is. So if I go back here, you'll see that up here it says popular posts. So this should hopefully, actually, I want to add it to the bottom of that. So I'm going to switch it to underneath the popular posts. I'm going to open that text widget up and just simply paste that short code there, hit save. And I'm going to reload this episode with Lewis Howes, and we're going to see what happens if it actually loads. So boom, there's the latest episode all ready for you. Now, of course, because it's a little bit shorter, the title, because this one is particularly long, gets in the way. So I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to actually create a new track player and add a call to action to make it easy and actually have it fit. So in the artist, which is at the top, I'm going to play click to listen to latest episode. Build short code. Oops, the URL is required. And that's because I didn't select the most recent the most recent podcast episode.